God for Lesson 8, the Hero. The god has two basic forms, the young god of life, growth, and evolution, and the old god of death, transformation, and involution. Each of these in turn has two forms as well. The young god is the hero and the lover, and the old god is the king and the sorcerer. These might be thought of as the temporal and spiritual polarities of the two god forms. The hero is the temporal aspect of the young god, and the lover is the spiritual. Similarly, the king would be the temporal aspect of the old god, and the sorcerer the spiritual. The hero, then, is the temporal or outward aspect of the young god's energy. The hero is the god of spring, of dawn, and of beginnings. His festival is the spring equinox, and he is associated with the astrological sign of Aries. The hero god represents independent young manhood. Energy, vitality, and growth are his attributes, as well as courage and strength. In former times, the hero is often thought of as a warrior, but he is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a follower of quests. The hero is idealistic and virtuous, brave and true. He is noble and chivalrous, a protector of the weak and a defender of the just. The hero is the bearer of new life and the bestower of knowledge. He is the opener of new doors and the blazer of new trails. The hero subdues and overcomes all problems. The hero represents the energy that pushes against all odds and eventually succeeds. He is the spirit in the seed pushing up through the soil, the green leaves unfolding their tender buds for the first time. He is the river water breaking through winter's ice, the animals emerging from their burrows, the spirit of life reawakened. Like the maiden goddess, the hero god is a patron of the arts and sciences, a disseminator of knowledge. He is the culture hero who teaches humankind the skills of civilization. It is the hero god who brings to humanity the goddess gift of agriculture, the Greek Triptolemus who receives the gift of grain from Demeter, the Cherokee Inagi who brings the world the corn and beans that Saluduya has produced from her own body. The hero god is the son of the goddess and her champion. He carries life back to the world with the spring at his mother's behest. In the story of King Arthur, in which the ancient gods are portrayed as people, it is the hero god in his form as Percival, or in some versions Galahad, who successfully quests for the Grail, and then brings it back to heal the stricken king. Here, the hero uses the energy of the goddess, symbolized by the Grail, to renew the earth after winter. Often, little distinction is made between the hero and the lover. Frequently they are seen not as different aspects, but as different phases of the young god. Still other times the two forms may seem wholly different from each other. We will discuss the lover god in the next lesson. Below follow several examples of the hero. Apollo. Venerated by the Greeks and Romans, Apollo is the god of life force and vitality, creativity and self-expression. Apollo is the god of beauty and the master of all arts and crafts. He is the lord of prophecy and healing and patron of both physical and spiritual medicine. Apollo is also god of music, which to the Greeks had mathematical significance and represented cosmic order. In later times, Apollo is viewed as the sun god and lord of the year. In one legend, he is made to win a musical contest with a satyr named Marsyas, representing the triumph of spring over winter. In later times, his polar opposite is Dionysus, lord of satyrs. Brother of Artemis Diana, Apollo will readily be seen to be the god portrayed in the Vangelo delle Streghe as the lord of light, master of the physical world. Green Man. The Green Man, also called Green Jack or Green George, represents the spirit of vegetation that returns to the earth in spring and flourishes in summer. He is particularly associated with the spring equinox, but also with the growing season generally. The Green Man represents the life of the forest and of the fields, and the god is the flowering of the material world. The Green Man is represented in various ways. Often only his face is shown, surrounded by foliage, which, in some versions, he is breathing out of his mouth. Sometimes he is represented by a tree, or a man in a tree costume. Frequently, the green man is shown with his tongue extended, representing the god's sexuality and vital energy. The green man represents the god energy growing forth from the goddess, just as the green vegetation grows from the earth. Mars. Although usually thought of as a god of war, the Roman god Mars is actually much more than this. Mars represents the summer season, the growing crops, and the warmth of the sun that fertilizes the earth. He stands for courage, strength, and action, the ability to accomplish goals and move forward. Mars also represents strength and honor, as well as virtue and personal integrity. Mars is associated with Venus and Vulcan in a seasonal myth, in which Mars is the summer season, Vulcan the winter season, and Venus the earth that forever moves between the two. Mars is a god of personal achievement, action, and success. Percival. Percival, or Peredur, features in the legend of King Arthur as the knight who finds the sacred Grail, which restores the stricken king to health. In the earliest versions of this ancient tale, it is not King Arthur, but the Fisher King, whom Percival must heal. In the castle of the Fisher King, Percival witnesses a sacred procession. Two men dressed in polar colors carry a huge spear, which drips blood. Behind comes a maiden carrying a chalice with an image of a head, the Celtic symbol of the soul, inside it. When asked what this procession means, Percival remains silent. He is later told that had he answered, the Fisher King would have been cured of his lameness. That is, the old god of winter would have been reborn as the young god of spring. The secret of this procession, which Percival did not speak, is this. The blood-dripping spear is the god force overflowing with life, which comes out of the goddess, represented by the head in the cauldron, which also represents the consciousness of the womb of creation. Thor. Originally called Thunar, or Thunder, Thor is the Germanic god of storms and fertility. Son of the earth goddess Jord, Thor embodied the vitality of the life force and the masculine virtues of courage and integrity. He was pictured as a red-bearded man carrying the sacred thunder hammer Mjolnir, or in some versions a sacred thunder axe. With this magical implement, Thor made thunder and lightning, and sent the fertilizing rains upon the earth his mother. Thor was also strongly linked to sacred trees and sacred groves, and was sometimes represented by a tree.